Merry maid and welcome. Today we're going to be making Brigadeiro. So hopefully I pronounced that right. With that, they're essentially like these chocolate truffles that are heated up through the pan. So we're going to be starting by making our own vegan sweetened condensed milk. And so the recipes for these will be linked below. But so we have coconut milk and syrup for those. I got 2 cans because it says it reduces to half, and we needed 14 ounces of the condensed milk itself. So you can kind of choose if you want to just make half of the truffles themselves, or if you want to double up on your coconut milk. And so also none of the coconut milks for once was just like clarifying between full fat or like when it has full fat. And so I just checked and made sure that it had more fat than the light versions, which it did. So there you go. But yeah, then also I did not there are some Nesquik where it is vegan brand, so just like look into your chocolate powders when you're doing that. You want something that you can like mix into your milk or coffee like super easily, because you're looking for a sugar-fried version. And the reason why I say that is because if you look up those ingredients for like a more natural limited ingredient chocolate powder, you'll find that it is mostly sugar and then cocoa powder, and then they have a stabilizer typically. So that's what we have here is 5 tablespoons to 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder, because if you could market your cocoa powder, your chocolate powder as being mainly cocoa powder, you would. So that's why I did this, because I wanted to have as much cocoa powder as possible, but if you split it down the middle and give a little bit more to the sugar, is how it ends up as more sugar on the ingredient list. At least that's what I'm thinking. So yeah, so this is really great. We're gonna be able to do it all still in this pot, which is really great because we'll just go ahead and get this started. It will take, according to the recipe, 45 minutes for this to reduce down. Essentially, we're going to mix these together, put them in here, and cook them down and until it is a beige color and about half of the liquid. So again, that's why we're using double the ingredients. And then we'll mix in the rest of this and we'll go from there. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with putting in the coconut milk and syrup. Merry meet and welcome. So we have our coconut milk here. You can kind of see we have some of the tops because I have a cold kitchen. So even though it was not in the fridge, we did still get that coconut milk hardening as it does when it just has that lower freezing point than most things we're accustomed to. But anyways, so that's going to go to milk. The other thing I will say, be very careful when you are working with your coconut milk, because if you do have the similar situation where the top has become a little bit more solidified due to the weather or the temperature you're at, just be careful that it doesn't explode all over your kitchen. I'm not saying this because this just happened. No, why would you make that assumption? Crazy. But yeah, so anyways, that did just happen to me. So we're gonna go ahead. You can see the syrup is already pretty much gone. You also could have used just more sugar if you wanted to. I think I just was like, let me not do as much sugar as I know is going into this recipe, because then it's also getting covered in chocolate sprinkles at the very end. But yeah, so we're having this overheat. We're going to bring this to a boil, and then after we bring it to a boil, we're going to reduce it so that we simmer for about 45 minutes, and we're going to whisk about every 5 minutes. So that is pretty much where I'm going to leave you. I'm going to check in with you guys when we see how it is reduced, and hopefully you'll be able to see it's a bit more of a beige color compared to this moment here. And of course those chunks will be completely liquefied as well. So we'll see you then. Merry meet again. So you can kind of see here, so earlier it might have looked a little off-white, which some people would be like, oh, that's beige, but we can kind of see here how it does get that like more caramel color. And also this I probably could have stopped it sooner, to be honest, and it probably could have been just fine. So if but I'm trying to just use all of this in one recipe, so I didn't want to have it not be closer to 14 ounces. So that's why I continue to cook it down, because for me less is more. But this is something that you can store as well. You can take it off the heat here and cool it, and then you just have some vegan sweetened condensed milk. But since our recipe just calls for us to add all of the things into a sauce pot, that's just what we're gonna do. So you can kind of tell how I've been putting that on there. But we're going to go ahead put this butter in here. There it goes. Trying to do this to where it's not, doesn't completely get all over the whisk. But it's not working too well. So anyways, there goes our cocoa powder. Sorry. Wow, that was just terrible for everyone, right? I had to clear my throat and you did that. Anyways, there's that. Got it all over the whisk, which is great because you know it'll definitely go down. But now we're going to go ahead, whisk this in, make sure that that butter gets all melted, and then we have a spatula to the side. And so we're essentially going to have this continue cooking over medium-high heat for about 10 minutes, and it's going to just continue to thicken up. So that's essentially what we're going to continue to let this do here, is allow it to thicken up. Something I will say too, if you're like, oh, it's not thickening and I'm getting pretty close to that like 45-minute mark, something you need to let it do is you do need to let it like bubble up. That's why it's every 5 minutes. You don't want to be stirring constantly. You do want it to bubble up so that it releases that, and then you'll notice you stir it down, those bubbles and the heat releases, and you're like, oh wow, this is thicker all of a sudden. So it is a little bit trusting that process. But what we're going to do, so you can kind of see how this, right, it's a liquid, it sticks to the sides completely. So what we're going to see happen after about 10 minutes when we check in is when we're scraping, it's going to start sticking away from the sides and forming essentially a dough. And so when we're checking in there, we're also going to be putting it to the side to cool. So this is a recipe, again, you can break it up into like multiple parts, or you can bang it out in the day. I'm currently doing it in a day just to show you guys that you can, but it does need to cool for at least 2 hours. So with that, we'll check in with you later when we are showing you its development. See you then. Merry meet again. So here we are about 7 minutes in. So I will admit myself, with the chocolate in at that point, you are kind of stirring a little bit more constantly. That 5-minute remark was definitely more for when you're making the condensed. So anyways, Merry meet again. So here we are. So with this, we are stirring a little bit more constantly once the chocolate is in there. Every 5 minutes is more for when you're simmering over the condensed milk. But anyway, so we have this here. We're now 8 minutes in, and so you can kind of see we are getting a little bit more separation. And I wanted to check in here because we want 2 to 3 seconds in our wait for it and to be a little bit thicker. So you're going to start seeing it where you are getting that thickness in here, and you're going to be tempted to stop early, but go ahead and continue going for the full 10 minutes and just go ahead and count it. That way you're like, okay, at least getting in those 2 seconds. So we'll check in again with you once we have that thickness again. I won't make you wait here. See you soon. All right, here we go. We are at that 10-minute mark, and so we really see this thickness here. And with this, we're gonna go ahead, and as we like pull away from the side, we kind of see it takes it a few seconds, maybe a second and a half. Maybe we're still a little early and could cook more, but this is still technically my first time as well. So I'm gonna listen to the 10 minutes and rather than risk burning it. Plus it is meant to cool, and so it will always continue to thicken as it cools too. Well, typically. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and pour this into a plate and let it cool. I'm doing this left-handed right now, so this is for the camera angle, and I have to say I'm pretty proud of myself because you guys know I will not shoot something if I think it's going to be dangerous. So look at us becoming ambidextrous, maybe. Anyways, so yeah, so we're gonna go ahead, let that cool for 2 hours, and then we're gonna check in. This is gonna be, the next part may be fun. Well, it may be fun therapy if you have sensory issues, or it may be fun if you're wanting to get your kids involved in the kitchen, because we're going to put butter on our hands so that this chilled dough does not stick to us while we form it into their truffle state and roll it in sprinkles. With that, we'll check you soon. Merry meet again. So here we are. So this is in theory cooled. I don't know what thickness it's supposed to be for it to be cooled. But we're gonna go ahead. I'm actually gonna go ahead and try to use the scooper instead. And I have these chocolate sprinkles from the Safeway, their signature brand. They're already vegan, which was very exciting, so I am using these. And they came in this tub, so yippee for me. So yeah, so we're gonna go ahead, test this out, see how much I actually need to maybe get my hands dirty, but if not, we have some utensils on the side if we need to panic and pivot. As I'm scooping, I am realizing that I do not have one of them. So yeah, so I feel a little nervous. Oh, okay, that is something always to consider when trying to work with solidifying and whatnot, is I don't know if it will solidify with the plant milk. So we're gonna do this as a test one, and then we may have to finish chilling this. I think I'll actually put it in the freezer. I kind of would just let it chill at room temperature. So I'll put it in the freezer and then we'll see what happens. For now, what I'm gonna do, we're gonna kind of test this because I don't think this is gonna want to form into a little ball. Yeah. I think we're just gonna at least taste test this. So yeah, this this will go ahead, go into the freezer, and I will, for a different video, my oven is ready. Oh, okay, so it's kind of exciting. So there is our goopy mess. So this is, if it doesn't solidify, this is the best form of the truffle that we are in fact going to get. I know it's hard to tell the difference between it, but just trust me that it is a perfect little gloop there. Maybe a little bit better. So yeah, so we'll see. We'll put all of this in the freezer, like I said, and we'll chill it, and I'll let you know how much time we add to it. Like I said, this is just what happens when working with different things. You can always make it a fun, like this, a chocolate dip, you know, and you could just put sprinkles on top and just pivot that way. And that could be a fun little thing if you're wanting to have those traditional flavors. But try to make it something that you're able to eat. Anyways, we'll check in with you soon. Alright, mate, so this has been in the freezer for about like 45 minutes, I would say. I realized I probably didn't want it to get too firm, but it did start to firm up, so that's very exciting. So we are going to go ahead, try it again. We're going to see how one goes. If not, worst case scenario, like I said, you can just like put, now also that it's firmed up a little bit more, you can like put some on here and then it can like become like a pudding that you scoop or something. But anyways, yeah, cause ooh, it didn't quite lose all of its electricity. So let us see. Okay. Did we forget the spoon? Yes. Okay, so now my goal is to help it form while covering it. Okay. Ah! Okay, it's better than the last one for sure. There you go, you can kind of see it. So, and then I would say you would have to put it in the oven to finish it, but this is probably how firm it's going to stay. I don't think it's going to get any better than this. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, so it would just be like a good 1 spoon scoop. So it looks really good decorative. Ooh, it would be fun to put this on top of like cakes too, you know? Like a live frosting. But so I might go ahead and leave the rest of this or try to smooth it out and serve this more as a dessert for later. So with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for being here. Bye. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot to tell you because it was so good. I went ahead and ate the other one. It did firm up a little bit more to where you could roll it, but then like it didn't make as much sense you would want it here. So there is an idea that you could possibly form it and then put them in and then it will firm up a little bit, but it would need to be eaten quickly, I would think. Anyways, I wanted to say it literally tastes like a liquid brownie, not brownie mix. Like it does taste as if you had baked it, and I do believe because we did heat it up on the stovetop, like you technically did add in that heat mixture. So it is so good though. So definitely recommend with that. Now I will officially see you guys next time. Bye.